Heyo! What's going on, guys? Back again for another daily stream. This time, Trump meets with the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer. Oh, we're gonna get into it. Among other things. But we're in the station. Locked in. Hope you all having a good time. This is on the longer side. I may have to hop through it a bit, but also I want to get it started early on here. I believe at the end of it he takes questions as per the usual, but he is asked about Epstein and everything, right? So I'm curious about that. I've seen like a clip, so I'm curious to see how that plays out. But whether we get to it is a whole nother thing. Don't want to get too sidetracked. All right, cool.
Would you like to start?
Well, let me welcome you, Mr. President, to Scotland, and fantastic to be here at Turnberry with you. Thank you so much for showing us around and having this opportunity to sit in this fantastic ballroom, which is absolutely incredible, and to start talking about some of the issues that are most pressing in your country and my country, and in particular, we've had the opportunity to talk about the situation in Gaza and the intolerable situation, including images of starvation. And I think both of us know that we have to get to that ceasefire, and we have to increase humanitarian aid in. And thank you for what you've already been doing, are doing, and are committed to, because without you, this would not be capable of resolution. And I think that if we can work not just on the pressing issues of the ceasefire, but also on this issue of getting humanitarian aid in at volume, at speed, and then we've discussed a plan for what then happens afterwards. I think we can do our very best to alleviate what is an awful situation at the moment. So thank you very much for the discussion we've had so far and the discussion we're about to continue on that really important issue. But it's fantastic to be here. Thank you for your hospitality and to see this amazing golf course. I'll invite you to a football ground at some stage, and we can exchange sports.
It's been great being with you, and thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. And you've done a fantastic job with regard to the trade deal. You know, they wanted a trade deal here for years, many years, through many different terms of different people, and you got it done. So I want to congratulate you on that, and it's a great deal for both. It brings unity. We didn't need unity, but it brings us even closer together. I think it's good for both parties. We also discussed, obviously, Gaza, and I think before we get to phase 2, which is, you know, what's going to happen afterwards, we want to get the children fed. We made a contribution a week ago of $60 million, all going into food. We only hope the food goes to the people that need it, because so much, as you know, when you do something there, it gets taken by Hamas or somebody, but it gets taken. But and we're prepared to help. You know, we want to help. It's a terrible situation. The whole thing is terrible. It's been bad for many years, but it's great to hear you feel the same way that I do. We have to help on a humanitarian basis before we do anything. We have to get the kids fed. So we've been sending in a lot of food. A lot of the food that's been going there has been sent by the United States. I spoke yesterday with the president of the European Union, Ursula, who was terrific also on the subject, and she's going to play a big role also in helping us. So we have a good group of countries that are going to help with the humanitarian needs, which is food, sanitation, and some other things. It's very difficult to deal with Hamas, as I said. You know, we got a tremendous amount of hostages out, but it would take place in drips and drabs. You'd get 10, you get 5, you get 2, you'd get 10, 12. We get 12 one time. Many of them would come to the White House, and they were so thankful. But I always said, when you get down to the final 10 or 20, you're not going to be able to make a deal with these people, because they use them as a shield. And when they give them up, they no longer have a shield. And the people of Israel feel so strongly about the hostages. Some people would take a different view, but they feel so strongly about the hostages. So that's an ongoing process. Hamas has become very difficult to deal with in the last couple of days because they don't want to give up these last 20, because they think as long as we have them, they have protection. But I don't think it can work that way. So I'm speaking to Bibi Netanyahu, and we are coming up with various plans. We're going to say it's a very difficult situation. If they didn't have the hostages, things would go very quickly. But they do, and we know where they have them in some cases, and you don't want to go riding roughshod over that area because that means those hostages will be killed. Now, there are some people that would say, well, that's the price you pay, but we don't like to say that. We don't want to say that. And I don't think the people of Israel want to say that either, which is pretty amazing. A lot of people would say, just get it done and whatever it is. You could also say speed might be better for the hostages. You go through, with speed, you may have a better chance because they're in deep trouble. They're in deep trouble. You saw October 7th, and you saw what the damage and the horror that they committed. People can't forget that. They tend to forget it, but they can't forget. That was one of the most evil things I've ever seen. And you just cannot forget that. So we're very much involved. The Prime Minister's involved. I'm involved. And I think I can speak. We just signed a very big trade deal, the biggest of them all yesterday, right? And the European Union is very much involved in wanting to help with the Palestinians in terms of getting people fed. But the area of Gaza, another way of defining it is the area of Gaza. It's a very troubled place, and it has been for many, many years. It has been for many decades. So it's not like this just happened. This has been going on for a long period of time. So that's it. Our hearts are in the right place. We have some good news because the
new poll in the chat there.
You just saw they just announced, I see, the newest of the 5. Now this would be 6 that we've stopped. I've stopped 6 wars in the last. I'm averaging about a war a month, but the last 3 were very close together. India and Pakistan and a lot of them. Congo was just, and Rwanda was just done. But you probably know, I won't go into it very much because I don't know the final numbers yet. I don't know. Numerous people were killed, and I was dealing with 2 countries that we get along with very well, very different countries from certain standpoints. They've been fighting for 500 years, intermittently, and we solved that war. You probably saw it just came out over the wire, so we solved it through trade. I said, I don't want to trade with anybody that's killing each other, so we just got that one solved. And I'm going to call the 2 prime ministers who I got along with very, very well and speak to them right after this meeting and congratulate them. But it was an honor to be involved, and that was.
No, I don't want to trade with anyone that's killing each other. I'm like, I don't know, that one's a bit hard to believe, but I get where he's coming from, I guess.
It was going to be a very nasty war. Those wars have been very, very nasty. So we've done a lot of good work. We've had great support from the Prime Minister anytime we needed help, anytime we needed any form of support. You've been there. We appreciate it very much. And we're going to continue onward. We do have to take care of the humanitarian needs on what they used to call the Gaza Strip. You don't hear that line too much anymore. You don't hear the Gaza Strip, but it is the Gaza Strip, and it's amazing. It's not being handled a little bit differently. We're going to set up food centers, and we're going to do it in conjunction with some very good people, and we're going to supply funds. And we just took in trillions of dollars. We got a lot of money, and we're going to spend a little money on some food. And other nations are joining us. I know your nation's joining us, and we have all of the European nations joining us, and others also have called, and they want to be helpful. So we're going to set up food centers and where the people can walk in and no boundaries. We're not going to have fences, and they can't. They see the food from 30 you would say, yards away, and they see the food. It's all there, but nobody's at it because they have fences set up that nobody can even get it. It's crazy what's going on over there. So we're going to work very closely together with your country, a great country. We also discussed inside that we are, there's a whole new thing happening with regard to energy from nuclear, and the Prime Minister's looking at that very strongly. And
Is this where he goes on about the windmills?
Rolls-Royce nuclear plants. That sounds pretty good, right? I love that.
Or was that something else?
But you're also doing the Rolls-Royce or the nuclear plants, the smaller plants. We're doing smaller and bigger, but the small is interesting. They do a small plant, very easy, very safe, and as they need more, they hook up another plant, and they have a series of plants instead of, doing the $20 billion plant. That gets tough for a lot of people to do. So we're just studying that. It sounds like you're very far progressed, but that's a great thing you're doing on nuclear. We opened up nuclear about 2 months ago, and it's now safe and very inexpensive.
No, we see civil nuclear as a big part of the future as we go to sustainable, independent energy, and I think that between the two of us we can work very much more closely on this, and we've agreed that that's our ambition, that's our aspiration, and this is going to be a big part of the future when it comes to energy. And you can see in the last few years, energy has been weaponised, prices have dictated both families and businesses across the United Kingdom, and therefore taking control of energy is a huge prize. So the more we can work together on this, the better, and small modular reactors are a very big part of the future here, and we've got great companies like Rolls-Royce involved in that. So I'm
UK in the chat.
Working together with you,
Good.
Mr. President.
We'll do that. We'll do that. We're going up to your oil capital.
We've had a few people in chat from the UK.
Capital of Europe. And it's a great asset that you have up there someday. If they ever change their thinking on that, you have a great and valuable asset. There's a lot of valuable resources.
How do you feel towards your Prime Minister, Rob?
But that's a decision for you to make. But it's a very amazing place, and it is considered the oil capital of Europe. So it's another option that you have. So we are doing really well as a country, and I think that the Prime Minister has been so supportive of us, and so strong and so respected, and I respect him much more today than I did before, because I just met his wife and family. He's got a perfect wife and family, and that's never easy to achieve, right? But
there you go.
No credit for that.
But he's become a friend, and together we got a deal done that has not been able to be done. It was a deal that's very good for both parties.
A really good deal for both of our countries, and very, very well received here in the United Kingdom.
So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any questions?
Mr. President, I want to follow up on Russia. Earlier you said that you were going to change the deadline from 50 days.
Yeah.
So what is your new deadline?
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. There's no reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made.
Mr. President, on Gaza, you just talked about setting up food centres in conjunction with other organisations.
Right.
You talk about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation or recognised aid agencies. How will this work?
Well, it's going to be working with the United States. Will be helping with the food. We have a lot of access to food. We got a lot of food ourselves, and we're going to bring it over there. We're also going to make sure that they don't have barriers stopping people. You've seen the areas where they actually have food, and the people are screaming for the food, and they're 35, 40 yards away, and they won't let them because they have lines that are set up.
Hotels.
And whether they're set up by Hamas or whoever, but they're very strict lines, so we have to get rid of those lines. But we're going to be getting some good, strong food. We can save a lot of people. I mean, some of those kids that's real starvation stuff. I see it. And you can't fake that. So we're going to be even more involved. We did some airlifts before, some airdrops, and the people are running for it. And the Prime Minister is going to help us. They're very effective with that. You've done that before, and for many, they've done that for 100 years very well. So It's not very hard to do, actually.
Mr.
Yes.
President, you say you love Scotland.
U.S. over here. So we got, what, 2 people from the UK in chat right now? And then Knight says, yep, all over the UK, they are put up in hotels and it's getting out of hand. Interesting. Here, let me pull the chat up.
The most Scottish president ever in the White House. Is there a better deal to be done for Scotland, for Scottish industry, than the deal that you've done with the Prime Minister? Whisky, for example.
Well, I have great love for Scotland. You know, my mother loved Scotland, and she loved the Queen. I don't know, I might hurt myself by saying that the monarchists are going to like it. Some other people, but she loved the Queen. Whenever the Queen was on television, she wanted to watch. And she would come back religiously. She'd come back to Scotland once a year with my sister Marianne, primarily, and sometimes my sister Elizabeth also. But they love this part of the world. And, you know, we're talking about the Isle of Lewis. We're talking about serious Scotland. That's serious Scotland. There was no doubt about it. So, yeah, it gives me a feeling, you know, it's different. You go to another country, you have no relationship to it. You get to, like maybe the head of the country or something. But it's different when your mother was born here, Stornoway. Right in Stornoway, a beautiful little place.
So is there a better deal to be done for Scotland, for whisky, for example? Because of your love of Scotland, is there a better trade deal to be done for Scottish businesses like whisky?
Well, I assume when we do our trade deal overall, a lot of it comes to Scotland, I hope. Maybe all of it should go to Scotland.
It's a very good deal for the whole United Kingdom, and we're already achieved great things under the deal, and we'll achieve even more as we work together.
A lot of it is going to Scotland. I mean, I do know that, but I mean, we're dealing with the UK, but a lot of it comes to Scotland. And you know, I was very particular. This is a part of the world I want to see thrive. It's going to thrive.
Mr. President, back to Gaza. You talk about Hamas stealing food and stealing aid. What responsibility does Israel have for limiting aid to the region? And if I could ask a follow-up to the Prime Minister, what pressure can be put on Israel? Is that something that you and the United States could work on together?
Israel has a lot of responsibility. They're hampered by the fact that you still have 20 hostages or so. And the people of Israel are very concerned about the 20 hostages. It's very interesting. You could say they could be more concerned about retribution than the 20 hostages, but they really want the 20 hostages to survive. And
Yeah, this hotel thing y'all are talking about is interesting. I'm perusing X at the moment. I just looked up UK and hotels, and yeah, like a bunch of stuff does pop up. I'm seeing what you're saying. I'm like diving in here.
Live to make it. You know, many of the hostages came to my office in the Oval Office, and I was amazed by. I would ask them the question: was there any sign of love? Was there any sign of when you were a hostage and you have all of these people from Hamas around you, sometimes 100, sometimes 10, sometimes 2, but you're a hostage and you're being stored in a pipe. It's not even really, a cave or anything. It's a pipe, a little pipe. And some said they didn't think they were going to make it because they were losing air. There wasn't enough air, and they'd open up the pipe just in time, but they didn't do it on purpose. They just happened to open it. They got lucky. But I said, did they ever wink at you and say, like, don't worry, you're going to be okay? Did they ever give you some extra food, even if it was a piece of bread? Did they ever give you anything during that time? And some were there for 400 or 500 days now, right? It's a long time, a year and a half, more than that. And not one person said there was any love from anybody. You know, in other words, you have hundreds of people, and you see it in the movies where somebody's a prisoner and somebody's helping. You even see it with Germany, where people would be let into a house and live in an attic in secret. You know, you see signs of stuff. I said, did you see anything like, did they wink at you? Did they say, don't worry, you're going to be okay? I ask that question all the time. I've never received one answer that said, yeah, they really wanted to help. No, the hatred is just incredible.
So on the access to food issue, what more can Israel do? And again, to the Prime Minister as well.
Well, I think Israel can do a lot. I will say that Iran, I think, interjected themselves in this last negotiation. Can you imagine the beating they took? We wiped out their nuclear possibilities. They can start again. If they do, we'll wipe it out faster than you can wave your finger at it, we'll have to do that. We will do that gladly, openly and gladly. They've been saying, Iran's been sending out bad signals, I'll tell you. For a country that just got wiped out, they've been sending very bad signals, very nasty signals. And they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be doing that. They were talking about things that they shouldn't be talking about.
Yo, John Smithers, I think they do ask about Epstein, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see, though.
They were interviewed on a recent show, and the foreign minister saying things that he shouldn't be talking about, shouldn't be saying. And I think they got involved in this negotiation, telling Hamas and giving Hamas signals and orders, and that's not good. That's not good.
I would say, look, we need to get the hostages out. They've been held for a very, very long time, and we must always start from there. But also recognise the situation on the ground in Gaza is absolutely intolerable, and I think that certainly speaking for the British public and myself, seeing those images of starving children in particular are revolting. And there's a sense of revulsion in the British public at what they're seeing. And they know, and we know, that humanitarian aid needs to get in at speed, at volume. Yes, some can be airdropped, and we're working with others, with the US, with Jordan, on that. But the trucks need to get in, because that's the only way you can get the volume in. And we do thank the President for the work he's done to try to get to a ceasefire, which we desperately need, but also to put aid in to the region. There needs to be much more of that. We need to galvanise other countries in support of getting that aid in. And yes, that does involve putting pressure on Israel, because it absolutely is a humanitarian catastrophe now. We also need to look beyond that situation to what then happens in the event of a ceasefire, which is desperately needed. And that's why I'm really pleased that we're having a discussion about what a peace plan would look like after that, the component parts of that. And we have to be really clear at this point that Hamas can play absolutely no part in any future governance in Palestine and and in Gaza. And it's really important that we're clear about what triggered this, who took the hostages, and calling out Hamas for what they are, which is a terrorist organisation. But I think today the focus has to be on getting that humanitarian aid in.
Mr. President, will the UK avoid your pharmaceutical tariffs, and will it happen before August the 1st?
Well, we'll be announcing on pharmaceuticals sometime in the very near future. We have a very big plan on pharmaceuticals. We want to bring a lot of the pharmaceuticals back to America, where they should be. If you look at COVID, it sort of taught us a lesson. We were getting our pharmaceuticals from other countries. We almost didn't make any. We used to make them ourselves, and we're going to want to be making a lot of them ourselves, all of them in a sense. But you also have a good pharmaceutical business. We'll be dealing with you on pharmaceuticals also. And we certainly feel a lot better with your country working on pharmaceuticals for America than some of the other countries that were with the relationship we have. You would not use that as a cudgel. You wouldn't be using it as a block. But we're going to be announcing sometime very soon, I think, pharmaceuticals are our whole thing. And the companies know. And drug prices are going to be coming down very substantially in the U.S., very, very substantially. And that'll happen very soon.
Mr. President, we can all sense your frustration.
No, go ahead.
With Vladimir Putin.
Hold it.
We can all sense your frustration with Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Do you think he's been lying to you about his intentions in Ukraine?
Well, I don't want to use the word lying. All I know is we'd have a good talk, and it seemed on, let's say, 3 occasions, it seemed that we were going to have a ceasefire and maybe peace, and you divide it up and you do whatever you have to do, that obviously to get to the end. And all of a sudden, missiles are flying into Kiev and other places. And I say, what's that all about? I spoke to him 3-4 hours ago, and it looked like we were on our way, and then I'd say, forget it, and I'm not going to talk anymore. You know, this has happened on too many occasions, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
You have a successful social media site. There are new powers here to censor your sites. states Monday.
To censor my site?
To censor your site.
You
and
mean
Twitter
Truth?
and Facebook.
Truth Social?
I mean Truth. Is that okay?
Well, I don't think he's going to censor my site because I say only good things. Will you please uncensor my site?
Yeah, we're not censoring anyone. We've got some measures.
Wait, hold up.
For social media sites, there are new powers here to censor your site, states Monday.
To censor my site?
To censor your site. And
You mean
Twitter
Truth?
and Facebook.
Truth Social?
I mean Truth. Is that okay?
Well, I don't think he's going to censor my site because I say only good things. Will you please uncensor my site?
Yeah, we're not censoring anyone. We've got some measures which are there to protect children. In particular.
Okay, so yeah, y'all from the UK, I've heard that people do get arrested for posting certain things online, like things that it doesn't seem like you'd be arrested in the United States for. So, what's the validity to that?
Suicide sites. We've had too many cases in the United Kingdom of young children taking their own lives, and when you look through their social media, they've been accessing sites which talk about suicide and encouraging, if you like, children down that road, and that is what we want to stop. There's nothing about censoring free speech. But this country is a proud free speech in this country has been for a very long time. We're very, very proud of it. We will protect it forever. But at the same time, I personally feel very strongly that we should protect our young teenagers, and that's what it usually is, from things like suicide sites. I don't see that as a free speech issue. I see that as a child protection issue.
We actually passed a bill in Congress, headed up by my wife, actually, which was to pull bad stuff out having to do with children, because it is a problem. But I cannot imagine him censoring Truth Social. That's more of a very political.
Laugh.
It's been a very big success.
Not going to happen.
And I only say good things about him and his country, so if they censor me, you're making a mistake.
Oh my
My
gosh.
ambassador to the job, make sure it's not censored.
It's not happening.
I had not heard that.
You're a big investor in this area, Mr. President.
Say it?
You're a big investor in this area of Scotland.
To put it mildly. Like this ballroom that we built from scratch.
Do you worry, though, about the risk of increased taxes here? Will that stop investing? And do you have a message last night on the soccer to the English Lionesses who won the European trophy?
So I think that I have a theory that low taxes bring growth. We just passed a big tax cut bill, the biggest bill in the history of our country, actually. And one big beautiful bill, I used to call it the great one big beautiful, we took the word great out, but it's actually called the one big beautiful bill. It's essentially a very large tax cut bill for everybody. And our country's pretty soon, I think I can say it right now, our country has never done better. We had a country that was dead. It was dead 6 months ago, a year ago. Leaders from NATO, we had a very successful meeting at NATO. Your prime minister was there. It was an unbelievable love fest with all of those countries. And they agreed to go 5% and all the things. Very smart to do. But many of the leaders said, essentially, they said, your country was dead 1 year ago. 1 year ago, we had a dead, and we did. We had a dead country. We had a president who didn't know where the hell he was. We had horrible, horrible people running our country. I think they were sick people, actually, sick. You talk about censorship. Those are big. That's all they did was censor, and they didn't know what to do. And they had high taxes. They wanted more tax, total censorship, transgender for everybody, men playing in women's sports, everything bad they wanted, and they still do. That's what they still do. That's why they're down at 15% or something. I saw it today, the lowest that the other part of the Democrats have ever been. But no, I find that when you lower taxes, you get growth. I will say this area, and the Prime Minister hasn't been here very long, in all fairness. I think he'll be a tax cutter. But I find that as we cut taxes, we did more business. In my first tax bill, we cut taxes from 39% down to 22%, and we ended up
Funny enough, it's an 80-20 split on release the files. So that's kind of interesting. Unless people just, kind of misunderstand the prompt.
at the end of the first year, when it was still a little raw, we ended up taking in much more revenue than we did at 39%. It was pretty amazing. And we're taking in a lot of revenue right now, and this was an additional tax cut. So I find, for whatever it's worth, tax cuts are very good.
Mr. President, you moved up the deadline. It's now 10 or 12 days. Is the sanction the same that you're going to slap a 100% tariff on anybody who does business with Russia?
So what I'm doing is we're going to do secondary sanctions unless we make a deal, and we might make a deal. I don't know. You don't know. It's we've done so many peace deals. This is the one I started out with, and this is. I know President Putin called me. He wanted to know if I could help him with Iran. I said, no, I don't need your help with Iran. I need your help with Russia. And so that's the one deal that continues to linger. And we're losing 5,000. They're losing. I'm not losing. You're not losing. But 5,000 Russian and Ukrainian kids a week are dying. And that's not mentioning the people that are dying also in towns where, he's lobbing missiles.
Kami has entered the chat.
Like Kiev. And he's got to make a deal. It's too many people are dying. It's a really bloody war. And the 5 is now, they're really telling me that number is obsolete. It's like 7.
That's terrible.
So you have 7,000 Russian and Ukrainian soldiers dying every single week for no reason whatsoever. So you would think, based on common sense, you would think he'd want to make a deal. We'll find out.
No communication with Israel publicly? Have you had any other radio channels conversations with the Russians reiterating this?
What's going on, Kami? Not much, man. Just learning of the UK's love of Trump, apparently.
In what?
Reiterating this new pressure and deadline.
We're going to have well, you're the press. I'm reiterating it to you. I'd say 10 to 12 days. I'll announce it probably tonight or tomorrow. But there's no reason to wait. If you know what the answer is going to be, why wait? And it would be sanctions and maybe tariffs, secondary tariffs. You know what a secondary tariff is. And look, the Russian economy, I don't want to do that to Russia. I love the Russian people. They're great people. I don't want to do that to Russia. But this thing, they're losing a lot of Russians. They've lost 1 million Russians. And that's the, sons. That's the sons and daughters of Russian families. They leave the house. They go, bye, Mom, bye, Dad, and then they get blown away. And Ukrainian, too. Look at Ukraine. It's a disaster what's happened there. But it continues to go on. As you know, we made a deal where the European Union is essentially involved, but it's NATO, and we're supplying weapons to NATO. NATO's now paying because the United States, because of Biden's in for $350 billion, the European nations are in for about $100 billion. Should be the opposite way, by the way, because we have a big ocean in between. Should be the opposite way. But I think that eventually something's going to happen. It should happen fast. So many people are dying. When I settled out with Congo and Rwanda, they lost almost 8 million people. And it just made so much sense. And if I didn't get involved, they wouldn't have done it. They weren't even thinking about settling it. It was just going on forever. And nobody could go into those territories because they'd get killed. They'd get killed. And now they have I hear it's a whole different ballgame. We settled it. This is one that should be settled. Russia, Ukraine. This is one that really should be settled.
Mr. President, Scotland's First Minister has today...
we have to admit, it has taken him a little bit longer than he said it would on the Russia-Ukraine situation. Now, I didn't anticipate him just snapping his fingers and that actually stopping. But, it has taken a little bit longer, right?
For a second referendum on Scottish independence. Can I get your reaction to that? Is that someone with deep ties to Scotland? Prime Minister, can I also get...
And granted, we only have so much influence, right? At the end of the day,
Your thoughts on that? If the SNP do win a majority in next year's election, then they have the right to hold the referendum, do you not?
Well, I don't want to get involved in your politics. We got enough politics of our own. I will say that I predicted what was going to happen the last time. You remember? I was opening the first course over at Aberdeen, and I was over here, and at the same time, and they asked me that question. I made a prediction. It was the day before the vote. And I made it correct. I like to be correct, but I made a correct prediction. I don't know. I do say that when they made that deal, somebody said that it was, and I remember this very distinctly. I said, could they do this all the time? There was a little bit of a restriction, like 50 or 75 years before you could take another vote. Because, you know, a country can't go through that too much. I don't know the First Minister, but I've heard great things about him. I've spoken to him. I hear very good things about him, and I'm meeting him today. So maybe I'll have a better opinion then.
And let me answer that straightforwardly, because I believe in a stronger Scotland, in a better United Kingdom. And I think that at a time like this, when it's quite clear that there's uncertainty and volatility around the world, the strength of the United Kingdom together is very important for all four nations, very important for Scotland. And that should be our priority, that should be our focus, not on the politics, which feels like the politics of yesteryear now, at a time like this. And I think that the First Minister should probably focus more on his delivery in Scotland than on his constitutional issues, and we might have a better health service in Scotland. But at a time like this, I think the United Kingdom is always stronger as four nations. I think that's better for all four nations. I think that's how Scotland is stronger. Look at the deal that we've been able to do with the United States, a really important deal that we made just months ago. That is what the United Kingdom can do when we act as a powerful set of four nations together, and there are very many other examples.
Mr. President, you toured the Federal Reserve last week, and
I did.
you're set to meet this week. Do you think your visit has inspired a potential rate cut, or how do you see things shaping out this week?
Well, it's interesting. I did tour it. I toured the building.
Yes.
And if you looked at this building, if you came here like 14, 15 years ago, we've had it a long time. It's been an honor to have Turnberry. But I was on much more opulent walls, ceilings, floors. We had to do this. And we did a very great job. I mean, you see how beautiful it is inside. Everything was saved. Everything was preserved. We had ceilings that were in bad shape. They were falling down. You know, it's very old. Wasn't properly maintained. Now it's brand new and beautiful. And we saved everything. If you really think here, you took a look and you were sort of commenting the coloring. Now, this is a brand new building. But if you look outside, it's equally opulent and beautiful, and we didn't do that by spending, hundreds of millions of dollars in surrounding a railing underneath the area that you're painting. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Brand new, beautiful plywood, very expensive, wrapped around a figurine or a railing to preserve it. But you don't have to do that. You can just wrap a cloth, they call it a blanket. And you don't even have to do that if you're careful when you're doing the ceiling. But I don't know what they did. They'd take down a ceiling and put up a new ceiling. And the new ceiling had no opulence to it. Or they'd fix the ceiling. But I would say that all I need is a good plaster and a can of paint. And, they spent $3.9 billion. And I spent a lot of money too, but it's I'd say 3.8 billion less. Meaning I spent probably $100 million making this place incredible.
And you were saying a lot of that was local trades.
I used local
we
trades.
were looking at the windows.
Throwing him the alley-oop.
I had local trades do a lot of this. We have the most opulent windows next door, and I had a choice. Do I take them out? And, they've suffered through 125 years of storms. You have very big storms in this area. When you have a storm, you have a storm.
We do it properly.
And they made it, barely, but they were in bad shape. So I had some local people come up and we looked at them. You have some great craftsmen here, I think is what you're getting at. And they said, sir, honestly, they've had it. We can copy it and do it much better. And they did. If you take a look at the windows in the various dining rooms, they're magnificent. And they're new. And they're much better looking than what was there. Same exact look, other than a much higher quality.
But you could see a rate.
What do you mean, Tommy?
Local people. I used a lot of your local people. You have really great local tradesmen here. Yes?
Are you talking about the weave?
A rate cut? Meaning a tax cut?
No. Do you expect the Fed to cut rates this
Oh, I think he has to. You had 11 cuts.
Let's be honest, guys. Everybody's probably on the list on both sides. If there's a list or documents that make people kind of like, we don't know what they were doing over there, it probably implicates everybody. That's what I think.
You know, in Europe they had 11 cuts. In other places they had 10 or 11 cuts. And we had none, but I'm not going to say anything bad. You know, we're doing so well even without the rate cut. With the rate cut, it would be better. It affects our housing a little bit. Look, we should be 3 points lower. Each point is $360 billion. Can you imagine that? That's big numbers. Each point, 1 point of cut, is the equivalent of
third-party commie. Is that what you're saying?
Dollars in savings. That's big stuff, you know. Those are big numbers in the U.S. Everything's big.
Maybe 2028 there'll be a third party.
Should cut.
Contender.
A smart person would cut. You know, he leaves very soon, so it's like one of those things. But I'll miss him greatly. I'll miss him.
On Turnberry, if I may, have you or will you enlist the Prime Minister in your effort to bring the opium back to Turnberry? And Prime Minister, you described this beautiful course. Do you agree with the President that it's time to bring the opium back to Turnberry?
Well, as you know, that's not a matter directly for me. That's for the sporting authorities. But look, I mean, it is first time I've been here.
Reported him.
It's absolutely
what are you talking about?
Magnificent, both inside and out, and looking at the courses itself and the building. It's incredible. But
the issue is, Kami, here a lot of people see it as if you vote for a third party, you're wasting your vote. So a lot of people just don't do it. So maybe over time, but it's just, most people just don't do it. You kind of have to vote for one or the other. Otherwise, you're seen as wasting a vote. Now, who cares if you're seen as wasting a vote, right? But, I mean...
The decision on the Open is not a decision for me, as you'll understand. I should just pick up on the earlier question, because I, for one, will say congratulations to the Lionesses. Last night, our women's...
We fall into, like, the choose the less of two evils. And then if you're doing nothing, then you're bad. So it's like, vote for the one that's less bad. Otherwise, you're helping the bad one or something like that. It just, that seems to be the mindset in a way.
Team won the Euros, defended the Euros, right. I should say.
It's a big story.
Which was a really big success, and the mental and physical resilience that they showed was quite incredible. So
it's a big deal.
There's a lot of bunting out today and tomorrow to celebrate them bringing that cup home.
Did you get the chance to do any planning for the upcoming state visit, and how's that going to work? Where would you stay, and anything about this?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. It's never been done before, twice. We had our original at Buckingham Palace, and now I guess we're going to Windsor.
Yeah.
And it's never been done, and I'm a big fan of King Charles. I've known him for quite a while. He's a great guy, great person. He looks really well to me. He looks great. So we look forward to coming over. It's going to be, it was one of the most beautiful evenings I've ever seen. I hate to say it, but nobody does it like you people in terms of the pomp and ceremony.
It's true.
And I look forward to being here with the ambassador. Our ambassador is a very, very successful man who just wanted to do this. And I said, how are you going to be able to do that? And he's so committed to, the relationship between the countries. But he's a very great guy and a very, very successful man. So I very much thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you for the honors.
I hear you smiling, Beagle.
About what?
Will you visit London during the state visit?
I will. I'm not a fan of your mayor.
Why not?
I think he's done a terrible job, the mayor of London. But the nasty person. I think he's done. I think
he's a friend of mine, right?
No, I think he's done a terrible job. But I would certainly visit London. Yeah.
Would you have Parliament to be recalled? So MP Nigel Farage has asked for Parliament to be recalled when you're there.
Well, I like Nigel. I mean, Nigel, as you know, is a friend of mine. Nigel's done very well. He's a friend of mine. And Keir's a friend of mine.
Would you recall Parliament so that the President can talk to MPs?
Well, Parliament's in recess at the time, but look, I do want to be clear.
Did he really bankrupt a casino? I always hear that.
Visited.
I need to look that one
Never
up.
been done
That's crazy.
before, and there'll be many elements of it that have never been seen before. So this is going to be a historic occasion.
America.
We're all very much looking forward to it, and I was very, very pleased to be able to put forward the invitation.
Okay, we got to look into that. I need to look into the casino thing.
Earlier this year. So, but this is not just a state visit. They're always incredible occasions, and this is an unprecedented second state visit. So you can imagine just how special that's going to be.
The fact that it's never been done before, and that's because it's non-consecutive, and it's the only reason it could be, made it even more interesting, frankly. So it's going to be great. And being with Charles and Camilla and everybody, I've gotten to know, because of 4 years and now 6 months, I've gotten to know a lot of the family members. They're great people. They're really great people. And in that sense, I think that the UK is very lucky. You could have people that weren't great people. I don't know if I'd say that, but you could have people that weren't. But
we're very lucky to have our royal family. They're absolutely fantastic.
So we really look forward to that. As far as Parliament, if he wants me to speak in Parliament, I'll do it. Okay? But it doesn't have to be then. It could be some other time. Maybe we should save it for another time. Well, we'll let the one visit speak for itself. But anytime, if I could be helpful, I would certainly do it. Thank you.
Mr. President, with the EU deal...
I'm looking it up, Kami. I'm looking it up.
Well, there are a couple of alternatives. Some are pretty strong, but the most sensible alternative is talk and negotiation. But I said a long time ago, at a certain point, they're not going to be talking because they're going to lose their shield. The hostages are a shield for them. They did horrible things on October 7th, and the hostages are a shield. And I said, you know, you're going to get down a number, and the number's going to be at a point where you're not going to be able to get them back unless you're going to be very energetic, or to put it a different way, unless you're going to be very ruthless and violent. It's a bad situation to be in, very bad.
Mr. President, with the EU deal last night, you talked during the campaign about President Putin respecting you and helping you to have a relationship with him. Do you still feel that way, that he respects you, considering the conversations you've had that have been really nice?
Yeah. I've always gotten along with President Putin. I have had a great relationship with him. And he went through the Russia hugs, too. You know, I mean, it was, we used to talk about it. We used to say, you know, it's too bad we really can't do anything between our country. Because if we did, they'd say, oh, it's, you know, some... Look, I was tough on Putin.
Sounds like, I mean, it closed.
Closed up Nord Stream, and Biden came along and opened it up. I was very tough on Putin in one way, but we got along very well. And I never really thought this would happen. I thought we'd be able to negotiate something, and maybe that'll still happen, but it's very late down the process. So I'm disappointed. And you know,
this is a deeper dive, guys.
Their economy isn't that big, and it's having a hard time right now, but it's a relatively small economy. A strong military, but strong economy. And it used to be a strong economy. Now it's not. He's gone through a lot. Economically, it's not easy. But it's pretty small, you know, compared to that magnificent size of that land. The land is massive. It's got, I guess, 9 time zones or something. It's a massive piece of land. Russia could be so rich. It could be so rich. It could be thriving like practically no other country. And they're holding that back because we can't. He wants to do trade deals with us. He talks about it all the time. He wanted to. And I envision that, a lot of trade with Russia. They have a lot of valuable things. When you talk about rare earth, they have serious rare earth, right? They have just about every form you can have. So, you know, Russia could be so rich right now. Instead, they spend all their money on war. They spend everything on war and killing people, and it doesn't make sense to me. I thought he would want to end this thing quickly.
Well, that's the problem. Is it's like those two choices. That's the frustrating part. The whole Biden situation, and then they flipped him out for Kamala. That was just, maybe they could have just held a primary. I don't know.
It's going to end, but every time I think it's going to end, he kills people.
Could a meeting help, and are you considering, has been proposed?
I don't know. I'm not, you know, I'm not so interested in talking anymore. He talks, we have such nice conversations, such respectful and nice conversations, and then people die the following night with a missile going into a town and hitting, I mean, recently, I guess, the nursing home, but they hit other things. Whatever they hit, people die. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We've just had a sense of your differences in political persuasion where Nigel Farage and Sadiq Khan came up in the conversation. I wonder if you have any advice, either of you, for a very divided...
I hear you guys, some of y'all saying like Trump would have won anyway. And for the most part, I agree, because they didn't really have too many people to run. But if they had somebody that could go in front of the media, go onto podcasts, and just act normal and be relatable, I feel like they would have done so much better. But the way that they ran Kamala, oh my gosh, like her not doing Joe Rogan, I feel like was kind of just a tell that, okay, she's just not going to do things that aren't controlled or like shorter form. I think she did do one or two like random podcasts, but those even seemed rather contrived. So I don't know.
Well, on how you make your relationship.
Not differences, yeah. Not differences. I happen to like both men. I like this man a lot, and I like Nigel. And, I don't know the politics over here. I don't know where they stand. I would say one is slightly liberal, not that liberal, slightly, and the other one is slightly conservative. But they're both good men.
Mr. President.
Well, look, I mean, we like each other, we respect each other, we get on, and we've both got a great love of our countries, of our families, and therefore there's a huge amount that we have already achieved actually together and will achieve as we go forward, leading our respective countries, and of course the relationship between our countries. Donald, we were talking about this morning, that whether it's defence, security, intelligence sharing.
No, I hear what you're saying, Kami. No, I get you. I think that's people's viewpoint on it. And people are saying, so like, why do podcasts matter? I just think that the media is changing, and some of these podcasters and some of these online platforms are pulling as many viewers or more viewers than like network television. So going to those places to try to win over voters is probably a smart thing to do, and probably rather cheap. I mean, I don't know if Joe Rogan charges for his episodes, but the fact that he extends it to you and you're going to get millions of people to watch you, and it puts you in this setting that is like more intimate, because people that like Joe Rogan or go to him to watch these interviews are now giving you a chance, and it gives you like a chance to really like express yourself, and to avoid something like that, it's again a little telling when people feel like you're being contrived and protected and everything around you is controlled and nothing is real.
Historic relationship we have.
I mean, I forget who it was, but was it one of her interviews edited to switch around answers to make it seem as though her answers were better than they were? I mean, come on, like it's kind of crazy. So when you have that type of a situation, alleged, that type of a situation mixed with the fact that you're not going on podcasts and like, popular long form content platforms, it just looks a type of way.
In the past, we've always stood together. And I, for one, am very pleased that we've got such a good personal relationship between us. And I think it just shows that even if you come from different political perspectives, different backgrounds, actually there's a huge amount of common ground when it comes to what is in the best interests of our two great countries, and they are two great countries. And I think that because we focus on what's best for our countries, we get along very well, and I'm very pleased that that's the case.
Mr. President.
Well, I do know he wants to cut taxes as much as he can, and politics is pretty simple. It's I assume there's a thing going on between you and Nigel, and it's okay. It's two parties, but generally speaking, the one who cuts taxes the most, the one who gives you the lowest energy prices and the best kind of energy, the one that keeps you out of wars. He's kept you out of wars, but the one that keeps you out of wars. You have a few basics in.
That's what it was, 60 Minutes. Okay, yeah. I knew somebody was going to mention it. But yeah, I mean, that felt a little bit dishonest. And the whole idea is, are you able to just sort of stand your own and have a conversation and just express your ideals and defend them for like an hour or for 30 minutes? Right? I mean, is that possible? And if not, that's just a little bit, a little bit weird. Is there anybody else that could have done that, that is really good at doing that, that's on the Democrat side? Like, who do the Democrats have right now that's looking like they're going to run? Gavin Newsom? I've heard people throw around AOC. Will she be old enough at that point? I think so, right? But I don't know. That's obviously not realistic because I just don't think people would. I think that's I don't think people would get behind her. I just don't. But like, who do the Democrats have that is just a really good speaker?
1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, whoever does these things, with low taxes.
It's like a speaker, you know, somebody that could have like some star power, but at the same time, not too much baggage. Not too much baggage. But then again, Trump came with a bunch of baggage and he was able to somehow make it work. So really the Democrats have a lot to work with, right? But like, who do they have that could be that like lightning rod that they could kind of, you know, really they should get behind ideas. I don't think you should get behind a person, but you know, Trump created MAGA out of his sort of like the essence of his like, you know, idea. Like MAGA, he went to the right, like he was on the conservative side or whatever, but it felt like he kind of took it over. Like he almost just went into the Republican side and just like obliterated it and kind of took it over because they all talked trash about him and then he won and they were like, oh shit. So
keep us safe, keep us out of wars, no crime, stop the crime. And in your case, a big immigration component, you know, because I know that your attitude has become strong on immigration, strong on the toughness of immigration. But I think whoever's going to be, I think I won because we had a lousy president, to be honest with you. We had an incompetent president. But I won because I was very strong on immigration. Now, we had inflation. We had sort of a bad economy with this guy. We had a lot of problems, but I focused on immigration more.
I'd say no, it's not a MAGA channel. It's not an anti-MAGA channel. So it's a little harder to describe than that. But if you see a moderator in the chat named Communism and you think, okay, this is a MAGA channel, it's like, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, what are you talking about? But at the same time, it's not anti like MAGA necessarily. I don't affiliate with these things.
More than I did anything else. And I think I won because of immigration. I think I won because of the border. I had a bad border where millions of people were coming in to our country illegally. And as you know, in last month, 0 people came into our country illegally.
We have anti-MAGAs here. We have MAGAs. We have people that, you know, just completely in between, I guess, and on the fence.
0. So we went from a bad, incompetently run border to the most competently run border that anybody's ever seen.
Prime Minister, the President makes it look easy dealing with illegal migration. You must be envious of his record in such a short period of time.
Well, I think
it's not simply a speaker slow and low. It's not simply a speaker. Obviously, you want them to be able to get things done, but you also have to win the race. Like, you have to win in the first place. You know, like maybe they're not the best, but they could put the right people in charge or like what have you. But regardless of anything, you have to win the race. So that's why I mentioned being like a speaker or somebody that could kind of captivate people.
Been discussing illegal migration is a huge issue in both of our countries. In the United Kingdom, it is a real cause for concern, and that's why we must bear down on it in all its aspects, upstream, across Europe, where a lot of ours comes through northern France, across the Channel, working with our allies, with our colleagues to break the gangs that are actually running this trade. But equally being very strong that when people have arrived in this country who've got no right to be here, then we should be removing them to their own country. And that's why I'm really pleased that we've been able to focus on this very intensely and get 35,000 people out of the United Kingdom who had no right to be here. Because the message has to be, you can't make your way to the United Kingdom. We won't tolerate our rules being broken, and if you get here, you will be returned to where you came from. And it's really important that we bear down on that.
We're such an attractive place for people to come if they want a better life, because we are on the country.
People coming via the rules are always welcome. Of course, we've welcomed talent and people into this country for centuries, literally. But what the British people will not tolerate is those that break the rules, those that come through irregular routes. And That's the really important distinction here. And that's what we're bearing down on. And I'm really pleased that we're through pretty well all of the international engagement I've done, all the meetings I've had, the country we've done deals with. We've done deals with countries in the last 12 months that many people thought it was not possible to deal with when it came to immigration, irregular immigration. And we returned thousands of people who've got no right to be here. And that, I think, is... for the British people, we're a reasonable, tolerant country where people are coming lawfully to contribute to our communities, to our country. Then, of course, they're welcome and have made a great contribution. But what people will not tolerate is those that are breaking the rules. And that is an issue of today, but it's a very British thing. We are people who respect rules. We don't approve of those that break rules.
I can say, though, that I had one of the greatest victories, they say the most consequential in 129 years, so I don't know about that, but it was pretty close. And we won.
It's just great. You could always just be like, they say, and then you could just say anything about yourself. And it's like, I mean, I don't say it. Like, look, guys, I don't say I'm the greatest thing ever, but that's what they say, and I'm not one to argue, you know? I just want to get along with people, so... It cracks me up every time.
All of the swing states, which never happens. We won the popular vote by millions of votes. We won, tremendous electoral college sweep. And I believe I did it more than anything else because of my strong stand on immigration. And I don't think this country is any different in that sense. I think it's a big factor. And it is with a lot of the European countries. Some of the countries have lost their way, and they have tremendous crime because of it. I mean, you had countries with no crime that now have tremendous crime, and you know the countries, and I know the countries, and so I think it's a huge factor in any election, not just this election, but in
Shane Lewis. That's an interesting
and most
theory.
confident on immigration is going to win the election. But then you add low taxes and you add the economy. He did a great thing with the economy because a lot of money is going to come in because of the deal that was made. But I think that immigration is now bigger than ever before.
Mr. President, your Treasury Secretary is meeting with Chinese trade officials.
Right now.
Right now. Have you received an update? Do you expect a deal when these talks are over, especially with the August 1st deadline?
No, they're meeting right now. And, we have a good relationship with China. But China's tough. And like you're tough, we're all tough, yes. But we're going to see what happens. We just concluded our deal with Japan. It was very good for everybody. We're making, great deals. We're making deals that are good for us, but we want them to be good for everybody. It's important.
I think they ask about Epstein, if I'm not mistaken.
Sometimes I'll do something that I shouldn't do because it's not very important for our country, but it's very meaningful for the country on the other side. And I'll let them have that point because it's very important for them. So, I don't know, but we've made a lot of deals in the last couple of months. And then ultimately, as you might as well know, we're going to because we have, you have 200 countries, more, but people don't know that. You got a lot of countries. And I wouldn't want to sit down with 200 people and have to deal the way he was calling me all the time. We want this, we got to have that. These are tough negotiators. These are, look, they're smart people, they're tough negotiators. They know what they want. And, but we're going to be setting a tariff for essentially the rest of the world. And that's what they're going to pay if they want to do business in the United States. Because you can't sit down and make 200 deals. But we've made the big ones. We just finished Indonesia. They opened up their country. We just finished Japan. They opened up their country. Japan opened up the country. They were totally closed. They opened up to our cars, even to rice. Rice was a big deal. They would never take anybody else's rice. They're taking rice. But they opened up their country. Philippines, we just finished. They opened up their country. They were very closed. I'd love to see China open up their country. So we're dealing with China right now, as we speak. Yeah, we're dealing with China right now.
The deal you've got with the UK is better than one with the European Union. Is that because you think Brexit was a good idea for this country?
No, look, we have a very special relationship with this country, like You know, my mother was born here, and not only born here, loved it. She'd come back, I tell you, religiously every year. And she'd go up to Stornoway and see her relatives. But she loved the country. Yeah, that probably has, it always has an impact. Always has an impact. But, you know.
We might revisit that Prince Andrew's interview. I watched that the other day. I just like revisited it. And it's so interesting when they interviewed him about his connection to Epstein.
Germany has a new leader, and I think he's terrific. I think you like him too.
Yeah,
I think he's terrific. My father was born in Germany, or is Germany. His parents were just out, but so you know you have a lot of feeling for this part of the world. I do. I want to see this part of the world do well. Germany, Scotland.
Yo, if Maxwell gets a pardon, man, we're just that's it.
UK.
Oh, man.
I want this part of the world to do well. All of the nations. You know, you do feel a certain. You have a warm feeling toward a part when your parents are born essentially here, and I think maybe it's slightly different. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but maybe it's slightly different.
Mr. President, can you completely rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you land?
Okay, they're bringing it up, but my question is, how have they not already gotten that information? Like, if she's sitting on information and she's like, listen, I'll make a deal with you. It's like, yo, you should have already given us that information. And how can we trust you? She not only has to have information, but she has to have proof of it, because she could pretty much point at anybody and say, oh, they were in on it. What does that mean? You kind of have to have some sort of proof.
Is that something you would ever consider? Mr. President, can you completely rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you landed?
Dude, they're asking about it.
Ever consider and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but
This is not how I would have started the answer. This is not how I would have started the answer. Is he correct? I suppose. I imagine he probably is allowed to, but...
Rule out a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell when you landed. Is that something you would ever consider and why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon, but nobody's approached me with it. Nobody's asked me about it. It's in the news about that aspect of it, but right now it would be inappropriate to talk about it. So.
Interesting, because I would imagine it's pretty easy to say, okay, no, we're not going to give her a pardon. So the fact that he's not even able to speak on it in that context is just interesting.
Mr. President, your opposition to offshore wind is well known. In Scotland,
wind is a disaster.
But in Scotland and across the UK, wind farms.
I know, it's a shame. It's not his fault. I used to tell Alex Salmon.
Have you spoken to the Prime Minister, and will you speak to the first?
Well, all I can do is give my look. Wind is the most expensive form of energy, and it destroys the beauty of your fields and your plains.
He does not like windmills.
And your waterways and look out there. There's no windmills. But if you look in another direction, you see windmills. When we go to Aberdeen, you'll see some of the ugliest windmills you've ever seen. They're the height of a 50-story building. And you can take 1,000 times more energy out of a hole in the ground this big. This big. It's called oil and gas. And you have it there, the North Sea. This big, that nobody would even see. You can take 1,000 times more power because the wind is intermittent, it doesn't work, it's extremely expensive. All the windmills are made in China. They used to be Germany and China, now they're mostly in China. They all come out of China. They say that the blades, which are carbon fiber...
And they kill birds.
Oh, okay, you can't burn. What are you going to do, dump them in?
Appreciate your crystal draws.
Because they only last...
Indeed, release the files, guys. We must release the files. You got to stay on that. I don't care if you're MAGA, you're anti-MAGA, whichever way. I feel like we can't let this one be swept under the rug. This is too weird. This is too weird.
I mean, remember, a windmill has a life of 8 years, especially when they're out in the salty sea and they start to rot and to rust. You have to replace them. It's very hard to replace them.
That ineffective?
Massive subsidy. And you are paying in Scotland and in UK and all over the place where they have massive subsidies to have these ugly monsters all over the place. So I've restricted windmills in the United States. Now, a couple we have, you know, the poor stupid people at the beginning, they approved them, so they have their full approvals. But I've restricted windmills in the United States because they also kill all your birds. You know, they wipe out. You know, it's interesting. If you shoot a bald eagle in the United States, they put you in jail for 5 years. And yet windmills knock out hundreds of them. What? They don't do anything. You explained that. So it's a very expensive energy. It's a very ugly energy. And we won't allow it in the United States.
So we believe in a mix. And obviously oil and gas is going to...
Are there even that many bald eagles, guys? I don't think... Look, if windmills are killing hundreds of bald eagles, I could be mistaken. Maybe there's like a lot of bald eagles.
This for a very long time, and that'll be part of the mix. But also winds.
I'm sure they kill birds, and that's kind of intuitive. I'm like, okay, you know, a bird flies through a fan. It's like, yeah, it's not ideal for the bird.
Increasingly,
I just thought, if anything, they would be maybe not low maintenance, but that they would pay for themselves rather easily. But
nuclear, which is what we've been discussing this morning, civil nuclear, as we go forward.
I just never, looked into it specifically, though.
Is that we have control of our energy, and we have energy independence and security, because at the moment, whatever the attributes and facilities in the North Sea, that is sold onto the international market. We buy it back off the international market. That was a historic mistake in my view. But what we need is a mix so that we get the energy security that we need for the future, and that's the focus of everything that we're doing. But what we have discussed today is that the energy prices are too high, which is why we recently took measures to reduce the energy prices, particularly for energy-intensive businesses. But in the long run, the only way to reduce your energy prices is to take control of your energy, and that's what we're doing, taking control of our energy.
Mr. President, our King Charles, who you're a great friend of, is a big fan of eco-projects, windmills, as you call them. Is he wrong?
So King Charles is an environmentalist, I will tell you. And I say that in a positive way, not a negative way. And every time I've met with him, he talked about the environment, how important it is. And I'm all for it. I think that's great, you know.
You know, you say, spammer. Wind turbines are not the leading cause of bird deaths, with other factors like building collisions and domestic cats causing far greater mortality. But is that accounting for the fact that there's a lot more buildings and cats than there are windmills, I imagine? I'm just saying, intuitively, if you told me windmills killed a lot of birds, I would think to myself, that makes sense, right? So we don't have like a lot of windmills. But I imagine if we had a lot of windmills, there would just be no birds in that area.
King Charles, more than anything else, loves the country. But I got to know him very well. He truly is an environmentalist.
We would have to know how significant it is, right?
He wants clean air, clean water, you know, all of the things that we all want.
Mr. President, you have said that you have not been briefed on the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is...
Well, I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on...
Bob Lazar videos. America's US... Bro, we're totally on the UAP thing. Don't worry. We're going to be doing UAP stuff. But, no, I was looking for... what did y'all say? Oh, the whales. I've heard him say that one too.
On Earth, they were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden, and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I
think that Epstein was a Mossad agent or something. It would make sense. I don't know about an agent of who, but if he was sort of procuring, like trafficking people to powerful people and then possibly getting blackmail on them, it would make sense that he was an agent of some sort. And then when you look early on to his conviction in the early 2000s, how he kind of seemed to get a slap on the wrist for what he was found guilty of. it would make sense that maybe he got some sort of deal or something like that. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case. It's not that crazy to speculate, but we would never know. We wouldn't know for like another 100 years or something, or, when they decided to tell us.
They would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files.
Jennifer, are you on that body double
Against somebody
vibe?
That ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They could put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people.
Hold up. I'm sorry, guys.
Example, Steele put something in the file. They had any. Those files that actually ran the government, they were run by Biden, by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey. They were run by Garland. They were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files.
Oh man, it's so difficult because it's like, are we pretending that Trump was not pushing the file situation? Come on. If he could just be like, hey, I pushed the idea of it because I thought there was something there. Then I looked into it. I had access to the information and it turns out there was nothing there. But to sit here and try to flip the whole entire script and be like, whoa, this was the Democrats from the beginning. Come on.
I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They could put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about it. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're done. But she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris. But nobody knew her last name.
Oh, my gosh.
So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing. They predicted she would have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered. But think of it.
I think it was she didn't flip like a single district from the last election. I mean, it's just wild.
Files were run by these people. They were run by my
Corey Feldman. Who's that?
enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election. Yeah.
Do you think that drawing? I think I heard you say something the other day that the drawing.
I'm in the middle. If there's something there, it's on both sides. They both would have used it, but they realized it was mutually assured destruction. That's what I think it is. So they both agreed, hey, we're not going to use this because it's going to just mess up the whole entire system. And even if we're against each other, we both benefit from the system and we're living better than those people over there. So let's keep the system functioning and, not go nuclear.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
Oh, wait, that's right. There was that whole letter thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that drawing? I think I heard you say something the other day that the drawing that was the subject of the Wall Street Journal report.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
You think it was fraudulent?
I don't do drawings. Sometimes people say, would you draw a building? And I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, for charity stuff. But I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women. And also, Epstein was always a very controversial guy. I was at a very high position.
I feel like he's sitting there like, I really hope I don't get asked any questions about this. He does not want to be pulled into this conversation whatsoever.
You know, Epstein was always a very controversial guy. I was at a very high position, you know, pretty much all my life. In all fairness, I've been doing this for a long time. I had the top show on television. I had the #1 bestsellers. I had everything, right? And I was a very successful business guy. He was a very controversial. Who would do a controversial drawing? Now, with that being said, they say there were many letters done by many people, and many big people, you know, big successful people. But I just don't. When you talk about files, I just keep going back, and other people too. Even the enemy says this thing is not correct, because if we had it, we would have used it on the guy. It's a bad issue. They say it's a good.
Sometimes the enemy of your enemy is your friend, though. Okay.
For Trump. Do you know that my poll numbers are up 4.5 points since this?
I love that his defense, though, is look, they hate me. They would have used it, which is like, yeah, no, that's that's logical, I suppose. But then it makes me just think a little bit further past that.
Ridiculous Epstein stuff. My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points because people don't buy it.
And I don't even know that he's necessarily implicated in a serious way. I feel like, does his name appear in it? Yeah, if he was an associate at some point in time, I'm sure there's a lot of names that appear in it. I don't think every name that would be like in the documents means that there was something they were doing, right? But at the same time, yeah, I think everybody was there at the party, right?
Okay, people don't buy it.
It's my opinion.
And he's gone, and we want to focus on trade deals. I want to focus on the deal we just made with the European Union, which is the biggest trade deal in history. It's the biggest deal, I think, in history, not just trade deal. So if they would have had something, they would have used it.
And people keep writing stories about the time you threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach with him?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place.
He what? He stole people that?
He did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that.
He hired help.
He did it again. And I threw him out of the place. Persona non grata. I threw him out. And that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
Mr. President.
And by the way, I never went to the island. And Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down.
That's a weird way of putting it.
Invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Yeah.
Mr. President, on Gaza, next time you speak to Netanyahu, what will you ask him to do?
Say what louder?
Next time you speak to Netanyahu, what will you ask him to do?
Well, I'm going to say, look, we're giving money and we're giving food, but we're over here and we're over in the United States, and I think I can speak for the Prime Minister. We're giving money and things.
Yeah, privilege, question mark?
Run it. Well, I want them to make sure they get the food. I want to make sure they get the food, every ounce of food. I think you want to say that.
Absolutely. It's an absolute focus.
Because that food isn't being delivered.
Mr. President,
or at least all.
One of my good moments.
Set essentially a tariff for the rest of the world.
For the world.
What percent will that tariff be?
I would say it'll be somewhere in the 15 to 20% range.
So maybe 15 or 20, or?
No, I said.
To 15 to 20%.
I just want to be nice. I would say in the range of 15 to 20%.
Could you just also think about UK steel?
Probably one of those two numbers.
But UK and steel aluminum makers here are worried about the tariffs. Will you do anything to help them here?
Aluminum?
And steel.
You're a pretty big aluminum maker. Right?
Yeah, that's already covered in the deal that we've agreed. So we're just doing the implementation of that.
But Mr. President, when will that come down from 25% to 0?
You mean on the overall, on the world?
On steel and aluminum.
Good point, Jay. That's actually kind of a good point.
Well, we're going to know pretty soon. We're going to have it pretty soon.
Mr. President,
you have no idea that these people are tough negotiators, okay? But we're a big buyer of steel. But we're going to make our own steel. We're going to make our own aluminum for the most part. But we buy a lot of aluminum from right here, and a lot of steel, too.
Yeah.
Who are you with? Who are you with? Because you're asking such a nice question.
GB News, Bertrand from GB News.
Very good. They're lucky.
We have a lot of unhappy farmers in this country at the moment, and I'm sure the Prime Minister won't thank me for raising this. We've had changes to inheritance tax, which mean a lot of farmers feel they're going to lose their farms when they die or they pass away.
I wonder how long this is gonna,
Our farms to the country.
how long this is going to continue on with the Epstein stuff.
Because of estate taxes, I think.
Correct.
So what I've done,
Pay so much, they're cash poor, but they have great.
I know, well, they're cash poor. They're land rich and cash poor. A lot of people are, I've had that too. Sometimes I'm land rich and cash, sometimes I'm cash rich and land poor. I like it both ways, but as I get older, I like the more conservative route. So I did something that I don't know if you can do, but it was great. I love our farmers. As you know, in our tax bill, we have a clause that's very important. We were losing a lot of farms to the banks because of mother.
Although, like, yeah, the Democrats using it, I agree, it's a talking point to, some extent, or at least the way they're using it, because didn't they have control of the information not too long ago? But at the same time, you can't neglect to mention that Trump pushed the idea that there's something there as well. There's a there. So it makes me a little bit like worried when these two sides that disagree with each other and are always fighting and at each other's throats are now coming together all of a sudden over this really contentious issue and kind of pretending there's nothing there.
A loving mother and father would die and left their farm to their
Or we don't know if they're pretending, but they've taken turns on saying there is stuff there or there isn't stuff there. They have switched their positions.
For their child, but their children, their family. And they loved their family, and they thought they were doing them a favor, but they had a 50% tax to pay. So the land would get valued, and at a high number, because some of the farms were valuable, but they didn't, they couldn't quantify it. And they'd go out and borrow money to pay the estate tax, or the death tax, as it's called, and they'd overextend, and they'd lose the farm. And they'd commit suicide in many cases.
I feel like they've switched the position on it, Ziggy, but tell me where they haven't switched.
They're not. We've just introduced where it's paid over many years, works out
well, that's good.
An extra 2% a year over 10 years. So it's not at those levels by any stretch of the imagination. But the other thing that we've done, as you know, is make sure that we've got a pathway for farmers that actually increases their year-on-year income, which is the most important thing. And in all of the deals,
what's going on?
We ensure that our farmers are the central focus for much of it, particularly on the agriculture, including in the US deal, because I don't think we can go on for years saying that it's acceptable for farmers to have a year-on-year income which isn't sufficient. We've got to fix that problem. We can't simply live with that problem, so it's a very different situation.
Well, we ended the estate tax. There is no estate tax on farmers. So when a parent leaves their farm, because again, a lot of these farms, they don't make a lot of money, but it's a way of life, and they love their way of life, and they love that dirt. That dirt is the most beautiful thing they've ever seen. They love it. I mean, they're farmers. They love doing it. They don't know how to do anything else, but they don't want to do anything else. I speak to farmers. I say, "Would you like to live in my penthouse in Manhattan?"
That seems fine.
Beautiful. No, sir. I want this farm. Now, what happens is, we were losing a lot of people to suicide. They'd borrow money to pay the estate tax, and they were not able to pay it. And some banks are ruthless; they wouldn't do anything, and they would end up committing suicide. We have totally ended the estate tax in those situations. So there's no estate tax. So when a parent leaves the farm to the kids, they don't have to worry about their local, possibly unfriendly banker coming in and stealing their farm.
Back to migration, one of the hot backward issues in Britain is migrants being housed in hotels and people in the local communities not feeling safe. Is that an appropriate place to house migrants?
I don't like anything.
So with the list, I think some people think it's an actual list of names, like a black book. Some people think it's, well, let's just see who visited the island. And then some people are saying, well, who is he associating with professionally, right? People were giving him money to invest and giving them advice and People were flying to his island to get tax advice. Like, who were his clients that were moving all this money to him? Just things of that nature. Now, of course, that's still not enough to really like info, because if you release that, now people are looking at them as if they're doing something wrong or they're criminals, and that's not necessarily the case. But I think that's what people are looking for.
About it, they shouldn't be allowed in. Anybody illegally should not be allowed in the country. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Well, I feel as though, yeah, no, Trump, I mean, only because he kind of gassed this up. That's the issue. And yes, there's the Obama treason with the Russiagate. I have yet to dive down that rabbit hole. But I saw that. I was just, hey, Dirty Money made it in. What's going on? You missed Kami. I don't know. Yo, Kami, are you still here? Might have been too much for him. I meant to catch this the other day, but I fell asleep and I did not stream.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We have a special guest with us today who will speak momentarily. But first, I would like to begin with a message from the White House to the families of the victims in the brutal murder case in Idaho, who were sharing their heart-wrenching stories about their loved ones before the court today and addressing the evil killer who took 4 precious souls. We are so sorry for the grief and the pain you have experienced at the hands of such a vicious and evil killer. Our nation grieves with you, and we will never forget the precious souls who were lost in this horrific act of evil. If it were up to the president, he would have forced this monster to publicly explain why he chose to steal these innocent souls. May God bless and watch over everyone affected by this unimaginable tragedy, especially the parents who lost their children.
I love how David Schneider, I like you. You just drop in here and you're like, fuck all of you. You know what? There you go. More power to you.
Let me begin with a few scheduling items off the top. Later this afternoon, President Trump will deliver the keynote address at the Winning the AI Race Summit here in Washington, D.C. President Trump believes it is non-negotiable that the United States wins.
Appreciate you, Dirty. I might mod him.
Today, President Trump will announce...
Yo, slow and low. You're not high speed, low drag, are you? Are you guys just filling my chat with like alt accounts? Because we can't be doing that.
Bold and comprehensive AI action plan to sustain and enhance America's global AI dominance. Under President Trump's leadership, our country will lead the world in AI to secure a brighter future for all Americans, massively grow our economy, and protect our national security. The president will also sign 3 executive orders at the event this afternoon. On Friday morning, President Trump will travel to Scotland for a working visit that will include a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the historic U.S.-UK trade deal. On the topic of trade, yesterday, President Trump accomplished something no other president has ever achieved. The president secured and announced 3 major trade deals with the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan, all in one day. President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off. As a result of the president's successful negotiating tactics, many foreign markets are now being opened to American industries for the very first time, and harmful trade barriers are being broken down. Thanks to President Trump, these countries around the world are agreeing to open their markets to American-made products and goods for the first time, which will lead to a boom in sales and profits for American businesses right here at home.
I don't know, Kami, you still here? Dirty Money is requesting you.
Tariff rates if a country agrees to open their market to American-made products. If not, they will continue to face tariffs and pay a steep price to do business in the United States of America, which remains the best market on the face of the planet. Also this week, the president officially marked 6 months here at the White House. He made big promises to the American people on the campaign trail last year, and he has unquestionably delivered on those promises in record time. The president has defeated the Biden inflation crisis to make America affordable again. Core inflation...
No. I missed this the other day. We were supposed to cover it the other day. This is 5 days ago. Wait, there wasn't one today, was there? I don't think so. I think this is the latest one, if I'm not mistaken.
lowest level in 4 years, and prices for everyday goods are falling. The president's pro-growth policies have fueled massive job growth across our country. Since the president has taken office, our economy has added nearly 700,000 new jobs, with native-born American workers accounting for all job gains.
Brian, welcome back. How you been?
Families and of workers first, he signed the largest tax cuts for the middle class in American history, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. We have also seen the president unquestionably deliver on his promise to secure our southern border. He has ended Biden's illegal alien invasion, and for
You said mass shooter in New York City. All right, let me pull it up. We might have some breaking news, y'all. However, I'm gonna let this run while I look into it here.
2 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country. The president has also, as you all know, initiated the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. The president has also restored law and order to make America safe again, another campaign promise he vowed to the American public.
Yeah, it seems like something's going on.
The United States of America is currently on track for its lowest murder rate on record, following this shift from the last administration to the Trump administration. The president has also ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy. U.S. oil and natural gas production are now surging, and summer gas prices reached their lowest level since 2021. The president has also rebuilt our military, another campaign promise. He just signed the largest...
Okay. So yeah, seems like there was a shooting in New York. I think I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on. I just want to make sure the videos are good to pull up on YouTube, if there are any. Wow. Give me 1 sec.
Military investment in decades to modernize our armed forces with cutting-edge technology to replenish our stockpiles and provide American troops with the best equipment in the world. The U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force have all reached their recruitment goals months in advance. The president has restored...
Sorry, there's just like it's like this shooter, and everybody's just arguing whether he's white or not white, because it looks like CNN called him white. The picture of him doesn't necessarily look white. I don't know, but that's all anybody's talking about right now.
Standing on the world stage, brought back peace through strength, and brokered numerous peace agreements to end wars.
Correct.
All of this in just 6 months. He obliterated Iran's nuclear program to...
Story building, as Brian is...
At any given time.
All right, so Brian, stay with us. The former deputy director of the FBI, Andy McCabe, is with us as well. And Andy, I just want to ask you, you talk about a 44-story building, as Brian is reporting. And what John Miller just said, there were a few things that really stood out there. Among them that they do know what he looks like.
Follow me on X.
Mustache, male, possibly white. And that they were already able to identify various parts of the building where they think he is right now from 911 calls, and also possibly...
Wait, did they get him?
...on those elevators, that they were able to move that quickly. And John said they're focused on various floors in the upper parts of the building. Now we don't know his status right now, if that's going to end up being where he is, but they have moved incredibly quickly.
They really have, and let's be honest, this is the largest, best trained, best
at any given time.
Found dead following the shooting. Geez. So anyway, everybody's arguing right now, it seems like, because I guess, yeah, I mean that's what they were saying, is CNN called him that. But anyway. That's beside the point. Freaky stuff. I'm sure we'll hear more about it here in a bit. So that's it for the breaking news.
End the war between Israel and Iran, got NATO members to raise their defense spending to 5% of GDP, and secured a...
I sometimes think, I don't know, man. CNN, I don't know.
Ceasefire between India and Pakistan, as well as brokering a historic agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The president has already received 3 different Nobel Peace Prize nominations for his peacemaking efforts. Again, all of this progress, all of these accomplishments have occurred in just 6 months. We are truly just getting started, and we look forward to working with all of you for the next 3.5 years. On another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people, while publicly pretending to
Bounty, you're asking why it would matter? What would matter?
Engage in a peaceful transfer of power. In private, former President Obama went to great and nefarious lengths to try to sow discord among the public and sabotage.
Oh, I see why. So I think the reason that people are bringing up race, if I'm not mistaken, I was just seeing something about this on X. So there's this concept that basically I've seen online. I don't know if you'd call it from MAGA people or what, but that the media doesn't cover crimes committed against white people. So, for example, in Cincinnati, Ohio recently, at some jazz festival, some white people and black people got in a fight. And there's like some white people saying that, oh, this isn't being covered by the media because they don't want to show this, and they don't want to show like white people being beat up and stuff like that. They don't want to show them as victims. I mean, it's possible, but regardless of that, that kind of ties into this. So they wouldn't want to show, they always want to make gunmen like white men. They don't want to show like other races being gunmen because the agenda is, oh, it's like white conservatives. So that's like the idea, and I think why people are bringing up race in this context, like in the conversation.
President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as...
You said Walmart situation. I heard the dude who took him down was an... I don't know about the Walmart situation. This was... I might pull it up here for you. Can I show it? I don't know if I could show it on YouTube. I mean, if you're talking about the Cincinnati one, I don't know if I could show that on YouTube. I might be able to find like a blurred one, but it's kind of wild. Like this one dude just lays out a woman. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of crazy. If you guys haven't seen it, you know, viewer discretion advised, right?
As the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath.
Well, that's beside the point, Bounty. I mean, I'm just explaining the idea behind, because people are like, well, why are they bringing up the race? And I'm like, well, this is why I think they're bringing up the race. But then you have like the race realists and all, and you know, stuff like that too. So there's like, you can sprinkle those people in there too. But I mean, I'm just trying to build a bridge here between ideas.
Of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with
Rated PG-13.
Russia. And the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth, and so did all of the other corrupt officials involved in this scam, including former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director James Comey, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and many others. Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's report further confirms what we already knew.
Or was he at
No collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized intelligence agencies at the time. The Russia hoax was a blatant lie, all ginned up by Democrat political operatives that were signed off on by then President Obama and leaked to the news media to launch a years-long witch hunt against President Trump and his first administration. Allies of the president, including his own son, Donald Trump Jr., were disgustingly smeared as Russian assets, and some even had their lives destroyed because of this vicious lie. The president's first 2 years in office had this fake distraction hanging over it, and endless resources, time, and political capital were spent having to debunk these lies from the highest levels of our government. Now, nearly 10 years
I'm not gonna lie, it gave me whiplash that Russiagate came back out. This is why I'm saying it's weird, guys. Epstein, there's nothing to see here. By the way, Obama did Russiagate. It's almost like the two sides are in agreement with their bullshit, and they're like, look, we're gonna say you did Russia, and then in 10 years, you're gonna say we did Russia, and then you're gonna say we did Epstein, but then we're gonna say you did Epstein, and they just keep like throwing the football to each other. That's kind of what it feels like at this point.
Thanks to the declassification of documents by Director Gabbard, the truth has finally come to light. And this truth vindicates President Trump, his family, and his many allies and associates who were smeared with defamatory lies.
I don't think, Brian, you said he's going to pardon Maxwell. I do not, man, if he pardons Maxwell, oh, that's going to cause some issues. I really think that's going to cause some issues. Like, even among MAGA, like, come on, even if you're like super MAGA, you got to feel kind of a type of way about that.
President Trump was right from the beginning about all of this, and we are grateful that justice can be served. Now, we have even more damning evidence implicating those who tried to sabotage a duly elected president and did grave material harm to our republic. Thanks to additional important work done by CIA Director Ratcliffe, Committee Chairman Rick Crawford over the past few months, a newly declassified...
Look, guys, when people were acting crazy towards Trump on some situations, I came to the defense. This one, nah. Come on, y'all. Like, even if you're MAGA, like, come on, guys. We gotta rally around this idea here. We cannot let them sweep this one. Okay? There's nothing to see here. Nah, I don't like that. I don't like it.
Classified 2020 report prepared by the House.
I'm fair, but come on.
DNI Director Gabbard has declassified, found that the intel community did not have any direct information that Russian...
I think it's going to split. I think it's going to split MAGA people. That's what I think. I could be wrong.
Putin wanted to help elect President Trump in 2016, and in fact, Russia was actively preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the unusual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are...
Who said that? He was just trying to feed his family. What? Okay, I don't know which conversation you're having, so...
Room today, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, were ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes for their perpetuation of this.
We need the whole pardon thing. To me, I still need to understand why they have that power in the first place.
Well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who receive them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative. I will now pass it over to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to speak more about all of this, and then we will open it up for questions afterwards.
I thought Tulsi Gabbard, when she was on the Democrat side and running, for president, I thought she would have done really well, and I thought she would have done really well against Trump, actually.
Tulsi, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified Oversight Majority Staff report that was produced in September of 2020.
Stop it. Who said that? Yo, Anthony. That's crazy if that's the case. I haven't seen that yet, but yikes if that's the case.
We are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI...
Does anybody have the TLDR on this? So basically, they push the whole Russia hoax to try to bring down Trump. I mean, that's the idea, that really they knew it was some bullshit, but they just kind of pushed it. Is that the TLDR or?
Senator Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence report, which investigated the claims that were made.
I'm not going to lie, it really does feel to me like as soon as they came out with the Russiagate stuff, I was like, the timing. You got the Epstein situation going on. Now you're dropping this whole Russiagate. It's just coincidence, maybe, but that's just the timing there.
By President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back.
No, stop. Dirty money. You know what I mean. Russiagate was a thing. It was a thing, but maybe I'm mistaken, but I've never heard them say like, oh, this is like Obama and them, and they just made it up completely. And well, I don't know. They said it like 10 years ago that it was like pushed by the Democrats because it was. But why are you bringing it up 10 years later and being like, we actually have evidence that it was like Clinton and Obama? Just so happens at the time that you have the Epstein stuff going on. Just something about this is just, come on, man, come on.
From leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency.
I feel like you're asking me to suspend my disbelief a little bit here, okay? I granted, I can follow you down that path, okay? And I can imagine your scenario, but something inside of me says, this is off. Something here is off.
In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director...
Oh, no, not to say it isn't true. No, for sure. Like you said, two things can be true at the same time. I'm just saying we're all focused, or a lot of people have kind of turned their focus to the Epstein situation, and now all of a sudden we've got this big, Obama, Russia, Clinton, and like all of a sudden, come on.
The time and the intelligence community...
It's a big club, and we hated it.
Originally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory. The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts.
Yo, Dirty, Kami has made it back to chat. Kami, Dirty was looking for you.
With multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency,
but I hear what you're saying as well.
Increases in financing from the State Department. They also had...
Somebody said Trump got peed. What was that whole thing with him getting like the pee, the hotel from the hookers on the bed that Obama slept on? I just remember, the 2016 election was wild with some of the stuff that people were saying. The Steele dossier, right?
Showed the patronage of the State Department.
Rules for radicals. No, I can't say that I have.
Employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional...
Nazis are democratic in essence, Dirty. Oh, Lord, y'all are just... There we go.
Controlled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community...
Wait, what?
problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized
Pointy made it in. What's going on?
substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess quote-unquote Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump. Including this intelligence reporting would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous. The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were quote-unquote planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the US election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency. The Presidential Daily Brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to quote-unquote new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others.
Appreciate you, Emmett.
Secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today.
Damn it. Okay, Dirty. Yo, Dirty. Do I have to time you out? Oh my gosh. We can't. Damn it. All right, Pointy. Don't worry. In 60 seconds, you'll be fine. Come on, Dirty. We're not supposed to do that. I cannot have to. I'm going to have to demote you.
Was a high-profile product ordered by the president, President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created.
It was an accident. Okay.
Limited to just 5 analysts using one principal draft.
So we have rules, guys. Okay, we got mods that disagree with each other. We have a chat that disagrees with each other. This is what I call harmony. Now we ban or silence people for being annoying, really, spamming, and breaking TOS and whatnot. Being creepy and whatnot, right? Outside of that, we do not, silence for political opinion, right? So, but sometimes the mods, they get a little excited, okay? They get a little too excited.
This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment that reflects the views across the intelligence community. The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political appointees, especially the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence
Pointy, you hear?
Oversight Report also shows how later that same day, on December 9th, Brennan ordered the publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments.
Appreciate you, Becca.
Information was judged, quote, to have not met long-standing publication standards. Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was, quote-unquote, unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's Oversight Report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers.
Pointy, you've been promoted to moderator, okay? Careful with the power. I feel like you and Dirty Money, y'all, now y'all can engage each other on a more equal playing field, right? And since y'all are opposed, it does help balance out chat a little bit.
Challenged the Obama-ordered
I think Kami's taking a break from Dirty for a minute. There's a hiatus there.
Assessment, stating, quote, "We don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected." Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, "We assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances, when possible, by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him." End of quote. The CIA and FBI, then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true. With regards to the Steele dossier, we now know that one of the source documents that the Obama administration used in the creation of this intelligence assessment in January of 2017 was none other than...
I can't imagine Dirty thinks that's what a democracy is. That sounds like, it's hard to believe.
The discredited, unverified Steele dossier. The House Intel report states, quote, "Contradicting public claims by then CIA Director Brennan that the dossier was not in any way incorporated into this intelligence assessment. The dossier was referenced in the intelligence assessment's main body text and further detailed in a 2-page assessment annex." John Brennan lied, and he denied using this dossier in this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered because he knew it was discredited. It was a politically motivated, manufactured document. He directed senior CIA officials to use it anyway.
It does feel like distraction, honestly.
A CIA officer told the House Intelligence Committee staff as they investigated this, quote, "The director of the CIA, John Brennan, refused to remove it, and when confronted with the dossier's many flaws, responded, quote, 'Yes, but doesn't it ring true?'" Even the bipartisan Senate Select Committee on Intelligence report published in 2020 criticized the FBI's handling of the Steele dossier, noting its completely unverified nature and purposeful sidestepping of intelligence community procedures in its use. Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 intelligence community assessment with high confidence as though it were fact. John Brennan, as CIA director, stated in a memo to his agency staff in December of 2016, saying, quote, "There is strong consensus among us on the scope, nature, and intent of Russian interference in our presidential election." This was reported by NBC News, confirming that Brennan, along with James Clapper and James Comey, agreed with the CIA's assessment that Russia intervened to help Trump win the presidency. As Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper was tasked with overseeing the creation of this assessment in January of 2017 by President Obama, and he expressed confidence in its findings. In a 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, he talked about how he provided Trump with the same classified assessment that President Obama received, which included the high confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. Clapper then went on to add, "I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome." This is a brief summary of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment. That leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you.
Well, Thank you, Tulsi. And we do want to take questions on this topic while the director has time for this topic. She will leave. I'm happy to take questions on other matters after that. But if anyone has questions for Director Gabbard, you're welcome to ask them. We'll start with our new media seat as always. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Gabbard, this one is for you. Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just to, two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us, from a 50,000-foot level, explain, what do you now have that refutes those two
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people, and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you and the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals, who are some still working within these agencies today, that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn, that President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And it's your belief that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence, and you will know the truth.
John.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, Director Gabbard. You declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were working in the government who sought to undermine his presidency. That's been clearly detailed. What I can speak to is the fact that this was one of the first things that we started to investigate here within this Trump administration and have released the results upon the conclusion of our investigation.
And then my second question has to do with what intelligence agencies around the world have said about Russia, that they have tried to influence elections in the United States, in France, in Germany, in the UK. Do you disagree with that? Do you believe that Russia is a bad actor as it relates to trying to influence elections?
I'll point back to the intelligence that President Trump has ordered declassified, that we have declassified and released, that the intelligence reflects Russia's motives were to try to sow discord and chaos within the U.S. election, which is a clear distinction from showing a preference for or against a specific candidate, which is what the Obama manufactured intelligence document alleges, that Russia preferred Donald Trump and tried to help Donald Trump get elected. Again, going back to the most important point here, with the intent to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election and therefore subvert the will of the American people who chose to send him to the White House.
Reagan. Thanks, Caroline. Director Gabbard, Reagan Reese with the Daily Caller. You laid out that the documents revealed that the Obama administration did not publish a December 2016 presidential daily briefing that demonstrated that Russia did not steal the election. Trump was receiving these briefings at the time because he was president-elect. Are you of the view that that information was kept out of the briefing because then President-elect Donald Trump would have seen it?
I don't have any documents that speak to exactly what the new guidance was that was given as the reason for pulling that document, which, by the way, still has never been published until we released it last week, Friday. One could assume that they didn't want President Trump to see a document that came from the intelligence community that would contradict the Russia hoax narrative that began through the Hillary Clinton campaign with the Steele dossier.
One more, maybe either for you or Caroline. The president said yesterday that Obama committed treason. Do you or the White House believe that the Supreme Court's immunity decision protects Obama from prosecution?
Look, I can speak to the president's feelings on this matter. He spoke to all of you yesterday in the Oval Office, but I also spoke to him about this morning. And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this. And I would just add, based on everything the director has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this hoax, Clapper, Andy McCabe, James Comey, and many others, have been hired by major networks in this room to go on television and continue to spew these lies, knowing that they are lies. And if you all recall, just flashback to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party. And you had major Democrat Party officials in this city, namely Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, who went on television and told the American people Donald Trump is an asset of Russia. It was a lie. They always knew it. Hillary Clinton herself said that President Trump would be a puppet for Putin. Senator Tim Kaine at the time called President Trump Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer. Adam Schiff stated, and one of the worst things a lawmaker can do is to tell the American people, I know something you don't know, it's just classified and I can't tell you. And that's what he said. I can tell you that the case is more than that. I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. And not enough people in this room, not enough journalists in this country pushed Adam Schiff to say, what are you talking about? What evidence do you have? Everybody just ran with the lies, and it led to impeachments. It led to the division of our country. Unfortunately, so many Americans, from listening to outlets in this room, believed in these lies. And it's a complete scam, and it's a scandal, and the president wants to see accountability for that. Phil.
Thank you. A question for Director Gabbard. A spokesperson for former President Obama said in a statement earlier this week, quote, nothing in the documents issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 election but did not successfully manipulate any votes. How do you respond to critics like former President Obama and also others on the Hill who say that the administration is conflating apples and oranges here, conflating allegations of actual hacking of voter machines and allegations of interference generally?
I think it's a disservice to the American people that former President Obama's office and others who are criticizing the transparency that is being delivered by releasing these documents. They are doing a disservice to the American people and trying to deflect away from their culpability in what is a historic scandal and negative action towards the American people and our democratic republic. The answer to that statement can very clearly be found throughout all of the documents that we have released. Again, showing that Russia has took action to try to sow discord in the election, but showed no preference for or against any singular candidate.
You've long been an opponent of weaponization in government. How do you respond to criticism that referring Obama administration officials and even potentially the former president is just more weaponization and this is a potential race to the bottom?
I think that's a very disrespectful attack on the American people who deserve the truth. They deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, which has been undermined by President Obama through his direction of this.
What I miss, I imagine y'all are getting along.
Manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies and knowing that it
I wasn't watching the chat, just listening to
all of the actions
Ms. Gabbard.
after.
Carolyn, and I would just add, there needs to be accountability for that weaponization, Phil, that we've seen. And no one has been a victim of the weaponized government more than President Trump, not just because of this political scandal. You all recall his house was raided. So I think, it's very disingenuous for people to say, how dare they speak of former President Obama about this based on evidence and based on intelligence.
All right, wait. America's invading Europe? This is news to me. We'll cover that next, I guess. Sounds like kind of big news.
When the former president of the United States, Donald Trump's home was raided, when he was forced to sit in a Manhattan courtroom and many other courtrooms across the country for crimes he never committed, when he was impeached and indicted, and the entire country witnessed that. That's the weaponization of justice. Now the president is back because the American people see the truth. Nearly 80 million Americans reelected him back to this office, and he believes that we need to have justice and accountability. And I think the nearly 80 million Americans who reelected him agree with that. Caitlin.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions for Director Gabbard just on this. Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found...
And some people would call it invading a place, like invading Europe. You could also see it as just putting another star on the flag, right? It doesn't always have to be negative. Like you could put a positive connotation on things, guys. It doesn't always have to be so dreary.
Irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community.
Good point. Puerto Rico, good point.
Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director.
So we need one for Puerto Rico, Canada. Wait, what else is going on? Who else are we missing? I just like saying that. Who is it? Pointy, is it you? Who is it that hates the Canadian jokes? I'm telling you guys, we share a huge border. We're like brothers. We're like cousins, guys. We're good. We're good.
National intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement
Mexico.
in 2020 following that.
That would make North America make so much more sense if it was just all just kind of America. And then you could take South America as well, and they could all just be America, right? It would kind of just make a lot more sense. I kid.
Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this, that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was
Well, are we buying Greenland? Is that what we're talking about?
concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time...
What, like Ohio, Pointy?
...actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that
this ice cream is so good.
to try to boost her standing with the president. Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to, and that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made. Does anyone else have questions for Director Gabbard? And then we'll turn it over to a couple other questions. Christian, go ahead.
Whoa, what do you got? What do you got against people from Ohio? You know, I'm originally from Ohio, so what are you trying to say, Dirty Money? Damn.
Thank you, Director Gabbard. 2 follow-ups on questions that have been asked. You mentioned the previous DNIs during the president's first term. One of them reports to you right now, if I'm not mistaken, John Ratcliffe. So have you not spoken to him about why this information was not declassified during the first term?
He was in that position for a very short period of time.
I mean, it could be multiple states as well.
The work that began back then,
exactly, Brian.
Absolutely completed. We are continuing to investigate this. Additional whistleblowers are now coming forward because they see an opportunity for the truth to come to light, and as Caroline said, for real accountability to be brought forward. The accountability is the essential part of this. We can show the truth, reveal the truth. The accountability needs to occur to be able to start to restore that trust in the integrity of our democracy.
And then just quickly, I know you said you would leave the charging to DOJ, but the statute of limitations on conspiracy is 5 years. So what else could they possibly pursue besides treason?
I think that's a great question for Attorney General Pam Bondi. We are providing all.
I'd have to, like Dan specifically, I'd have to look at each of those cases, because do they want that like additional recognition? Because I saw somebody in chat say, oh, well, I don't want the US to ruin those places. So I'm curious how they feel about it as well.
All of the evidence, all of the intelligence that we have, both redacted and unredacted versions.
Well, in that case, then yeah, maybe.
Of Justice and the FBI.
We'll take one more. Charlie, go ahead.
How credible was the information about Hillary Clinton's health? The report said that it was from sourced from the DNC. Have you seen that information, or do you think that maybe Russia was over?
I think it's Basil, right?
All I have seen is what the Intelligence Committee have reported through their investigation. I think the underlying point there is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had, and the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election, as President Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election.
Listen, guys, we got to be nice to the Canadians, okay? They're our neighbors, all right? We don't want problems with them, all right? They're right there. If they come over here and have a problem with us and decide to invade us or something, it's not going to be great for us. So we need to be on good terms, guys. We need to be friendly, okay, with each other. Really with everybody in the world, for the most part, right? You know.
They would have released
Kami,
the most damning of that information.
All right. Well, have it be known in chat, Kami is not American.
Of which I detailed here. You'll find the rest in the report prior to the election.
You guys are going to get us, man. You guys are going to piss off Canada. This is not ideal.
Held what they had on her, the most damning information, because they thought that she would win the election. They had plans to release it just prior to her inauguration to, again, sow discord and chaos in America.
And if I may, on Jeffrey Epstein, can you rule out that he was connected in some way to any kind of intelligence, either foreign or domestic?
I haven't seen any evidence or information that reflects that. If anything comes before me that changes that in any way, support the president's statement loud and clear. If any credible evidence comes forward, he wants the American people.
Oh my God.
Director Gabbard, we thank you for your time.
I mean, we could pull up. I mean, look. I don't know what the differences are. You're saying that you fear the Canadian Army, or military rather. Would you say military or army? Military. More than the US's military. We're going to have to like pull up the stats and see how they stack against each other. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% certain. I have my suspicions.
Today. I know you're a busy woman, so we'll let you get out of here, but thank you so much. Okay. I know there's many issues.
Moose are powerful.
Across the world and here at home.
To be fair.
If you have any
To be
other
fair.
questions, I'm happy to take them. Ed, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So the Japan trade deal, is that Japan trade deal the start of this number of trade deals that the Treasury Secretary says we're going to see by August 1st?
I think it is. I mean, as you said, we had Japan yesterday. We also had Indonesia, and we had the Philippines as well. The president announcing all three. He came in as the closer in all three of those. I've said many times from this podium that the president's trade team has been in active talks and discussions with many countries around the world, and you've all been anxiously awaiting what those countries were. Now you know three of them, and there's many, many more to go. We have now sent 25 letters.
I feel you a bit about that. I think military is important when considering some things, but yes, there's other elements as well.
To countries around the world. But just to reiterate this Japan deal, for those at home who may have missed it, Japan will now pay a 15% tariff versus the reciprocal rate of 24%.
Wait, what are you talking about, Kami? With who? Are you talking about with Canada? You're saying... all right, I'm going to need more context. Give me a sec. I'll look it up.
Auto and auto parts tariffs have been reduced to 15%, but the centerpiece of this deal now is the president got Japan to commit to $550 billion in investments to revitalize American industries. And these funds will be spent at President Trump's discretion and direction into key industries such as energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and shipbuilding. And the U.S. will retain 90% of the profits from any investments made by this $550 billion.
Oh, wow.
This was originally a $400 billion investment that President Trump then negotiated to an increase of $150 billion, making it a $550.
Okay, I did not know that. Okay, that was a very brief search, I must admit.
$billion deal for the American people. And I just want to emphasize, Ed, I see you have a follow-up, but it's very important. Japan has agreed to open their markets to many very key sectors in American-made products that have really faced very strict tariff and non-tariff barriers prior. So thanks to the president, Japan's markets will now be open to American-made products and goods. This is big news for our tech companies and our farmers as well.
On Monday, the Treasury Secretary is going to Stockholm to talk to the Chinese delegation. What does the president hope to get out of that meeting? Are there deliverables?
I won't speak to any deliverables or set expectations. I'll let the Secretary of Treasury do that. But I did speak to him yesterday about his upcoming trip, and he looks
Guys, we're all on the same team. Recognize, we're all on the same team.
Forward to continuing discussions with his Chinese counterparts. The president has ensured that we have a good continuing working relationship with China that benefits the United States. And so the Secretary of Treasury will be obviously discussing those key matters, but I'll let him set the expectations.
I never said the rich. I'm saying Canada and America and, well, Mexico and really everybody over here. We got to be on the same team at the end of the day. Because I have a feeling, you know, things are going to get crazier as time goes on, and you don't want to have to be fighting with your neighbors, right? That's not ideal.
Sure.
Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the president believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Special Envoy Wickoff is headed overseas.
I mean... yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's like you don't like shit where you sleep kind of a thing, right? I mean, you kind of want to be nice to your neighbors. It just seems to be... I mean, you want to be nice to everybody if you can, right? But your neighbors specifically, because they see when you leave for work and they see when you come home, and they see all that, you know?
Good to see you, Olivia. I haven't seen you since...
I've not been to India. That'd be cool, though.
He's headed back overseas. Can you give us a sense of what the marching orders are to some of the people he'll be meeting with, and specifically as it relates to Gaza and ongoing talks there?
Yes, Special Envoy Wickoff is headed to Europe, where he will meet with key leaders.
Oh, Kami, you keep going to rich people. We're not talking about rich people specifically here. I know of your feelings towards the wealthy.
To discuss the ongoing ceasefire proposal to end this conflict.
You've been ripping off in what way?
the hostages. These are very sensitive negotiations that are currently taking place. I spoke to Special Envoy Witkoff last night about them. I will let him speak further on the matter, but the President and Special Envoy Witkoff has made the administration's goals clear. We want this ceasefire to happen as soon as possible, and we want these hostages to be released. Go ahead.
Caroline, a Florida federal judge has refused to allow the Epstein grand jury materials.
Oh, you're saying, yeah, no, I've heard that they had high tariffs on us or something. You're saying a crackhead isn't your boss.
To be released. Does the president want the administration?
I had something to say on that, but I forgot.
That was just breaking as the director and I were coming out here.
I've never seen a homeless CEO.
A chance to talk to the president about it. I understand there are 2 other requests from the Department of Justice that are ongoing.
What do you mean Japanese money seems too good to be true?
To whether he wants to see an appeal, and the Department of Justice, I'm sure, can give you a statement on that as well.
And is he supportive of the effort to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell? I know that Todd Blanchard mentioned that earlier this week.
The president spoke to this yesterday, and he said he thinks it's an appropriate idea. Kelly.
What is the accountability that you would like to see if this current president is the one who brought the case to the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts made clear in his opinion that a sitting...
I think that's true, Bill Warren, to some extent. He said, if Canada chose to act against U.S. leadership, I don't know what way you mean, but you said they would not see it coming. We just laugh at the lying nonsense out of Trump and his flunked and cry at the fascist ICE mobs destroying farms and families. I do think it would be a surprise attack, so to speak. I don't think people would anticipate it. Although, you know, the intelligence agencies and all that do exist. But outside of that, I think it would be a surprise.
President's responsibilities in office.
No, we should not be, like, you know, hypothesizing this, guys.
Immunity. So what is it the President Trump wants regarding President Obama, given that fact? And the special counsel at the time, Durham, when that Supreme Court matter was not in effect, could have charged anyone and did not. So on those 2 points, how do you respond?
Look, the president has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies and this scandal to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
Appreciate you.
President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity.
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice. Stephanie.
In light of the
to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
Well, you would agree President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity.
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice. Stephanie.
In light of the Japan deal, are sectoral tariffs now up for negotiation with trading partners? And in a similar note, are these negotiators asking for investment funds, sort of like what Japan had agreed to?
As for sectoral tariffs, I understand that the president continues to be in talks with our Secretary of Commerce. We have made commitments on various sectoral tariffs, as you know.
Lima, you're crazy.
Commerce has initiated studies to then move forward with implementing those sectoral tariffs. So I would defer you to them for further comment. Meredith.
I wanted to ask if the White House has any update on
Dirty, I'm going to come to Kami's defense here, briefly. They say that, what is it, Thomas Edison didn't fail to make a light bulb 1,000 times. He found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. All right, Kami, that's what I got for you.
Commerce Department employee who's been detained or banned from exiting China, and if there are any efforts to get him out.
I can assure you and the American people that the administration is actively monitoring the situation and engaged, but typically we don't comment on individual cases like this as we are sorting them out. Sure.
Yes.
Behind you, Dr. Harper, sorry. Go ahead, to the lady sitting down in the blue. Yes.
Okay.
What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Caroline also.
Kami, Dirty was saying something to you. I don't know if you have him blocked or what.
Caroline Bodo with the Center Square.
Did you block him?
Republicans in the Senate today
Can y'all block each other?
back on legislation to impose sanctions on Russia after the president said he wants to act unilaterally. Can you elaborate on what the president intends to do?
Look,
oh my God, Kami, what the fuck?
Communication with his friends in the Senate, particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, on this issue. But the president has always maintained, he's the commander.
Y'all need to make up.
For a reason, and he has been deeply involved in this conflict since the beginning. And so any decisions that are made with respect respect to sanctions, the president wants to reserve that authority and that right to himself. Jasmine.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions for you. The first on AI.
Limas.
Does President Trump support federal agencies contracting with
Oh my God.
AI company?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he would want the DOJ to then cancel the contract.
Okay, Dirty, is it true? Are you a Nazi defender? Come clean.
You know, obviously the developments with the Epstein case with the
I'm hearing rumors.
Has the White House counsel, the DOJ explored any other documents that could be released to the public that don't have to do with that grand jury testimony?
To my knowledge, the Department of Justice has moved forward with the request to unseal that grand jury testimony, and as you know, they have also moved forward with interviewing Ms. Maxwell, which I believe will be taking place very soon.
What on, Johnny 5? How you doing, bro?
Thanks, Caroline. I have a question about Paul Ingracia, the OSC nominee who faces a Senate committee hearing tomorrow. Tom Tillis said that he wouldn't.
High speed, low drag.
If a vote came to the Senate floor. 24 worker advocacy.
You're gonna get blocked, dude.
They don't support his nomination. What is the White House planning to do to sort of turn the tide or convince legislators that they should vote for him?
The White House is always in communication with members of both the Senate and the House, and we stand by the president's nominees. Sure.
In connection with the Mueller investigation, a grand jury indicted 13 Russians. President Putin has said he will never extradite those men. Given the new information that Ms. Gabbard has found, what's the administration's position on that case? Should those charges be dropped?
I don't have an update for you on that case, but I'll check in with the National Security Council, and our team will get you something. Sure.
Thank you so much. So Fannie Willis and Jack Smith separately, they both charged President Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States and a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. It now turns out we're confirming that Obama and his cronies were doing that the whole time in 2016 on a massive scale, falsifying documents and having their intel agencies do this. What does this say about the 2020 election? And also, yeah, what's your thoughts on the irony here?
There is a lot of irony, especially for the party of the Democrat Party, who claims to be for democracy. We often heard throughout the 2024 campaign they were calling this president a threat to democracy. And now I think the declassification of all of these documents proves that they were indeed the true threat to democracy. And as I said repeatedly today, there needs to be justice and accountability for that. You all will hear directly from the president later this afternoon at the AI Summit here in Washington, D.C., scheduled to speak later in a few hours. So we will see you all there. Thank you very much.
Oh, she's gone. Perfect timing, too, because I just finished my ice cream. It was very good. Thank you for asking. Caramel, if you must know. Oh, I wanted to get to this, guys, if you have not seen. The Hunter Biden interview. I don't think I have time for it tonight, unfortunately. Unfortunately, guys, I have a job. It's oh my gosh, I'm employed. Kind of sucks. No. So I do have to go to work soon. But I do want to cover this. The Hunter Biden interview. If you guys haven't seen it, it's over on Channel 5. The Channel 5 with Andrew Callaghan. Callaghan, is that how you say it? Definitely check him out, though. Does great content. But he snagged this interview with Hunter Biden. Did I say Joe Biden? So much. I meant Hunter Biden. Hunter 28. I only caught snippets of it and stuff. I don't know if I want to watch the whole thing on stream or just do like highlights. Johnny 5, very good, very good. Burning the candle on both ends here. So capitalism needs a host too? Wait, what do you mean? Everybody's at work. How many people here are at work currently? I'm assuming like there's a fat portion of you at work and a fat portion on the toilet. A large portion of you. It's very quiet. Hold on. The silence is killing me. Oh, this is not. There's something in the background. Jeez. Long says they have plenty of free time at work because of Trump. What does that mean? What's the implication? Home on holidays. Just need all the citizens, both sides, to wake up. If we're not each other's enemy, the government is. Yes, if everybody could come together, but, you know, divide and conquer, they say, right? Longbong, are you talking about America? I'm just not sure if you're like from America. So you're saying I need to get some leeches. All right. See what they got on Amazon here. You think so, Brian? I mean, you also have to define utopia, right? I mean, the goal is to get as close to it as possible. How we get there, right? And what it looks like and what that means for, you know, each person. Because people have vastly different beliefs. But I guess that's your point, though, right? I heard he does give the, or like he talks about making crack. Or like something in regards to it. Recipe. I didn't want to say recipe. I'm not sure. It's alleged. Like I said, I only saw clips. So, you know, yeah, we're going to have to, this is probably going to be like a tomorrow watch. We could gaze at his face for a little bit. Or I guess what? Let's see. Maybe I could just. Let me see. Get rid of that. Maybe get rid of this one. No. There we go. Actually, kind of like it in the middle, I think. Let's see. 10 crack commandments. Yo, that's, y'all are crazy. That's awesome. 95% fail in capitalism. That sounds 95% of all businesses in the first 5 years. That sounds like I've heard it's a high number, like a third or like 50%. But 95% seems rather high. Really, 95? Jeez, that's look that one up because that just seems too high. Copy plans and unprepared startups. I mean, I could maybe see that. Topaz has all the tea here. Speaking of tea, we got to cover that. I don't know if you guys saw that stuff on the tea app. The quote-unquote leak / hack. It's really more of like a leak, if anything. Yeah, you've got the details here. We're gonna need you when we go down the I almost said Joe Biden, the Hunter Biden rabbit hole here. Wait, really? Long Bong. Wait, stop it! The way you say you guys are doing research and she downloaded it, because man, if you find the T app on your wife's phone, that's kind of... I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Everybody has, you know, everybody lives different lives. We all have different situations, I guess. Yeah, the tea leak is wild. It's just the irony of it is, although I could grant that... Why am I yelling? I can grant that from a safety perspective, I could see a use case for the app, but the app kind of almost comes down to almost doxing people in a way. And in the end, the users end up getting doxed. It's almost poetic if you look at it like that. All right, Dan, appreciate you for hanging out here. Come on back. My life download. She wants to look up people at work. Okay. Kept getting scammed but cheated on. Yeah, I remember the reasoning for it. I mean, I get it. I don't think it's even like the worst concept. I was just talking to somebody about this, and I think one of the issues with it possibly is the anonymity aspect. Since the app is locked, so only women can, you know, use the app. I think they have to upload their ID. Maybe make it so they have to use their actual identity on the app. That way, I feel like if they're not anonymous, they'd be less likely to just sit there and, I don't know, misuse the application. Because it'd be more accountability. Only women. And I'm out. Well, if I'm not mistaken, women are the only ones that can download the T app, right? Or maybe you were responding to somebody else. Like, I think you can download the app, but you can't make an account unless you're a woman. You have to scan your ID. Yeah. There was I don't know if it's real, right? But there was an ID that supposedly was leaked, and the lady worked at the Department of Defense. And I'm like, no freaking way. But take it with a grain of salt. You know, it's just what I gathered from X. Kind of scary. Candace Owen had a similar website called Social Autopsy. She did a good job on her cleanup. There are only fragments left in the archives. So it was a way of just like tracking people, and I mean, essentially a gossip forum, right? In a way. Well, I really appreciate you guys for hanging out. Unfortunately, we have to go to work. But it's fortunate, you know, in a lot of ways, right? It's like that are we dating the same person? Exactly. And again, I think that could be useful if the person's married, if the person is, you know, playing games or dating multiple people. I can see why it's useful to have something to weed those people out. You know, Candace, I don't even know. I heard she's had some crazy takes as of recent. I haven't really kept up with her as of recent. But be sure to slap that like button, guys. We're going to have to go offline for a bit. But I'll be back in the morning tomorrow morning, afternoonish, brunch. We'll say brunch time, okay? On the East Coast. Appreciate you for hanging out and getting along with each other. Subscribe, and we'll be back next time.